Hi guys, welcome back to Lexalexus. I hope you guys are enjoying your Easter Sunday. Today we're going to be predicting week 44 in the Championship, and this is where we could start getting some resolutions to some positions in the table. We could see who will be getting promoted out of the Championship. We could also start seeing some playoff places getting confirmed at this stage as well. Relegation will have to wait for another week. So we are going to get so many things starting to get confirmed, probably starting from this week. But if not, then week 45 and week 46 is going to be absolutely crazy. The Lexalexus Football Prediction League is nearly up to date. I will send an update as soon as I can. If you guys want to get involved in it for a potential chance to get some prizes, please make sure you leave your score predictions in the comments. It gives me a really good opportunity to see how everyone else is feeling about the Championship as well. And let me know of your reaction to the last game week, because we certainly had some real feisty action. 6 red cards occurring in that game and some really shocking results as well. So I'm going to predict the next 12 games, which could decide many places in the table. If you guys like what you see, please smash the like button. It really does help the growth of this channel. 50 likes will be amazing. Please do hit the subscribe button too, as we're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers. That'll be amazing if we can get there. And please also share the channel too. All 3 of these things are free to do, and they really help. But without any further ado, let's start predicting week 44 for the Championship. Start things off with a very important game at the bottom of the Championship. It's Cardiff against Oxford. Cardiff have all to do to try and get out of the position that they find themselves, following the fact that they lost to Sheffield United and Luton, of course, their relegation rivals, won against Derby. Cardiff are now finding themselves in second bottom of the Championship, but still only 1 point of safety. It is still all to play for, with 9 potential points up for grabs. And actually some shocking revelations. Omar Ritza, who was given a contract to the end of the season and was probably charged to try and keep Cardiff away from the drop, he's now been dismissed. And I got to say, his post-match interview against Sheffield United was very blunt and just almost defeatist in the way that he was talking about his squad. And ultimately, they felt that they needed a change of personnel. Aaron Ramsey is stepping up to the plate in a way that he's going to now lead the team, a little bit similar to Conor Hourihane stepping up from the player and now leading, his team around them. It's a must-win game for Cardiff. Oxford are in a pretty awkward position. They've got a tough run of games. It was a tough defeat against Leeds, but I thought they actually were okay in that game. I think with Oxford on 48 points, I think one more win in their last 3 games will secure Championship survivals. But I think that nerves of getting that one more win could potentially make this a little bit more tricky. Personally, I know a win will be, the most, dramatic thing for Cardiff's point of view. But personally, I am slightly edging Oxford as the favourites. They have got away wins recently. They did get one recently against Sheffield Wednesday, which was a hard-fought win. I think here it's going to be a draw. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I probably would have predicted an Oxford win, but now that they've dismissed Ritza, I have a feeling Cardiff will be more competitive now, and they will go for it a little bit more than what they have been doing in their last couple of games. So, bit of an awkward one to predict, but I'm going to go for a draw. Let me know what you think. Next up, we've got Hull going up against Preston. Hull definitely did not have a very helpful result in the cluster of teams near the bottom of the Championship. They lost out to Swansea City. They also managed to get Matt Crooks red carded, so it will be likely that he will not feature for this game against Preston here. Now, they are 2 points clear of relegation, so I do think they could take one hit and they can still potentially survive. But I think Hull are in a position now, if they can get to 48 points, it will certainly give them a big cushion now to try and get themselves up to 5 points of safety with only 6 points left to play for. But of course, they've also got to rely on the teams below them not to pick up results as well. Preston are in a pretty awkward position themselves, actually. They are only 1 point clear of Oxford, who I have already said that they need one win away just to guarantee that Championship survival. I do think Preston still have a bit of a cushion where I do think they are a little bit fortunate in the way that there are a load of teams below them that I think will, feel more likely that they will go down. But it has certainly been a really poor run of form. I think it's 1 win in 12 for Preston. It's not great, isn't it? And it doesn't really give me a lot of optimism for next seasons for Preston. As a prediction, I think with Hull fighting for something, a Preston on the beach for like the past couple of weeks or so, I see Hull more likely being, really determined to get a win here. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Hull. I think they could edge them here. Whilst Hull's home form has been pretty shambolic, Preston's away form has similarly been pretty shambolic, honestly. So I feel like one of them's got to get a result, and I think it will be Hull with that extra pressure that they need to try and avoid relegation. Next, so we've got Leeds versus Stoke. So let's talk about Leeds first. They are so close to returning back to the Premier League. They are in a prime position now in terms of the Championship table. So they are 5 points clear of Sheffield United with only 9 points left to play. If they win this game here, then it really puts the pressure on Sheffield United. They need to get a result against Burnley. In fact, they need to beat Burnley to have any sort of chance of them themselves trying to overtake Leeds or Burnley come the end of the season. But this is a Stoke side who have actually doing really well with their form at the moment. So I don't think this is a guaranteed 3 points for Leeds. And I think a slip up for Leeds give Sheffield United a little bit of hope, but I think even if Leeds drew, that will still put Leeds 6 points clear with 9 points left to play. It would still require Sheffield United to win to have any sort of chance of overtaking Leeds come near the end of the season. So it is very much in Leeds' ballpark to try and get themselves out of the Championship. And prediction here, I think it'll be tight. Stoke, I think, don't really have too much to play for now. They've now hit 50 points, which for me does secure survival now. So they'd be incredibly unlucky to go down at this stage right now. And you've got to give credit to Mark Robins for turning Stoke's form around. And they're going through a pretty good run of form at the moment. But I think I'm going to go for a Leeds win. Again, there's a little bit more riding on their performance. I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to Leeds. But I would not be surprised to see a slip up here. And that will make things rather more tasty with Burnley against Sheffield United, which I'll predict later on. Next up, we've got Luton going up against Bristol City. So both teams with some really good results last time around. Luton picked up an away win against Derby, and they've given themselves, to be fair to them, a fighting chance of getting out of the relegation zone. They are only in a relegation zone now on goal difference. But Luton have got some tough games coming up. They really, really do. I believe they've got Bristol City, they've got West Brom, and I think they've got Coventry as well. Tough games for Luton. So if they do survive the Championship now at this stage, they would have done well. And I feel like when I was doing my relegation video, I think I said for Luton's perspective, they needed to be out of the bottom three at this stage for me to feel comfortable that they would survive. They're still in the bottom three. However, performances wise, they have been improving. So I do have a little bit more hope for Luton that they could find enough results to get them out of the situation they found themselves. Bristol City picked up a very big win against Sunderland. Now, it was a tough game. Sunderland themselves went down to 10 men very early on. In fact, in the 7th minute, Tryhoon picked up a straight red card. And Bristol City just had to be pretty patient. They were very, very dominant, actually. And they did eventually get a 2-1 win. And it puts them in a really commanding position. They are, I believe, 4 points clear from Middlesbrough. So they are in a very powerful position here. But if they do drop points here and Middlesbrough pick up a win in their game, which, you won't see me predict yet, but could be the case, it'll make things a little bit nervy for Bristol City to try and secure that playoff place. But a win here for Bristol City, I think playoffs is theirs. And that will put them on 70 points. I genuinely think 70 points might be enough to get you a playoff place this year. So it is, again, very, very fine margins now, which is going to define these places in the table. But Luton themselves really, really need the points. A draw might be able to take them out of the bottom three, depending how Derby and, of course, Cardiff do in their games too. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a draw. I'll go for a 1-1 draw here. I think Luton will make it difficult for Bristol City, but I think Bristol City are playing with a lot of confidence in the moment. Bristol City's away form hasn't been as consistent as their home form, but I do think with the momentum and the confidence, I think they will get at least a point here. It wouldn't be the best result for Luton, but it may, depending on how results go, take them out of the bottom three, and they will take that right now. They will take 21st place right now. Next up is Millwall versus Norwich. Both teams with terrible results actually on Good Friday. So Millwall were involved in the game against Blackburn. They lost by 4-1, and that for me, I think it gives them too much to do to get into the playoffs, unfortunately. I think the best thing that they can do is try and win their last 3 games and just to get themselves into a decent position. To get on 69 points is actually a decent fate for Millwall considering the start they had to the season. Norwich were, I don't even know what to describe for Norwich. They were involved in an 8-goal thriller, but against them, they lost 5-3 at home to Portsmouth. A Portsmouth side who have really been quite poor on the road. So I'm really pleased for the Portsmouth fans. They managed to get a really, really good away day out of that. But yeah, Norwich has certainly have been on the beach for ages, and their form reflects that. They really have not been climbing up the tables at all. If anything, they've been regressing bit by bit, and I do think here, whilst Millwall, they might still tell themselves that they do have a chance because mathematically they're not out of the playoff race, but I think realistically they're going to have too much to do and they will be relying on results to go for their way. But I think because of that, I think they will go for this game. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Millwall. I just think Norwich have been all over the place as of late, and I think that, you know, what I probably would be doing in that position is thinking about next season, because it has certainly been, you know, a disappointing season for Norwich. There's no denying that. And I think Millwall, with something extra to play for, they might get the win in that case. Next up, we've got Plymouth going up against Coventry. So Plymouth were involved in a very cruel defeat against Middlesbrough, literally last minute when they lost out on gaining a point, which I actually think they earned. I think Plymouth did quite well actually to get into the position to get to a 1-1 draw, but of course they did lose by 2-1, 0 points for Plymouth. And that additional point, you know, whilst it wouldn't have taken Plymouth out of the bottom 3, it meant that the gap to get out of the bottom 3 would have been reduced with the fact that Cardiff lost last weekend, and so has Derby. So they are still 3 points off safety, and technically I would say 4 because their goal difference is very inferior compared to the other teams around them. So this is now crunch time for Plymouth. If they want a chance to survive, they need to win this game. Unfortunately though, they're playing the Coventry side who are, I gotta say, playing pretty well. They played very, very well last game out against West Brom, and I think they managed the game perfectly there. It was a West Brom side who, I will say they've been terrible on the road all season, but Coventry managed that game very professionally. Kept a clean sheet, of course, as well, so they'll definitely take that going into this game. But Plymouth have been picking up some great home results. Their most recent one against Sheffield United, of course, who they themselves also smashed Coventry. So maybe Plymouth could get a win here, but personally, I'm leaning more to a draw. And I did regret that last time round when I predicted the draw between Plymouth and Sheffield United, of course. But I feel like here, with Coventry, they still have so much to go for. They need to secure those playoff places. And with Middlesbrough potentially getting 3 points in their game, you'll see what I predict for them soon. They really need to pick up the pace, because otherwise they will start being in a little bit of trouble. And they've got a really tough game against Middlesbrough actually in the final game of the season. So Coventry want to try and get as much distance from Middlesbrough as possible. They will not want to give Middlesbrough a little bit of an opportunity to overtake them by game week 46. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Might not be helpful at this stage. Plymouth really ought to get a win, and Coventry really need a win as well. So it's a bit of an awkward one, and if anyone loses out, it certainly will make things really, really stressful in their part there. Let me know what you think in the comments. Next up, we've got Portsmouth going up against Watford. Very different results from both sets of clubs. So Portsmouth beat Norwich by 5-3. Incredible performance, especially for Colby Bishop to get his hat-trick. Watford, they were involved in a 2-1 defeat against Burnley, which I correctly predicted, and it was a fiery game. 2 red cards, Kayembe and Sissoko getting sent off, and certainly it wasn't a game that Burnley made easy for themselves, but they got the 3 points, and that's the main thing for Burnley at the moment. They need to try and keep up the pace with Leeds and to try and keep this distance between them and Sheffield United, who they have got the opportunity for themselves to close the gap by tomorrow. But I do think this game here, Watford are certainly out of the playoffs. They can't get into the playoffs now. I think it's mathematically impossible. Portsmouth are pretty much safe. They're on 49 points in the moment. I definitely think a draw secures it. So this could be a dead rubber game. But personally, I think Portsmouth will still want to make sure that they have a good home run to the end of the season. I think Watford, kind of similar to Norwich in that mid-table position, I just don't think they are going to be entirely motivated now at this point. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to Portsmouth, and that should surely secure championship survival for the South Coast club. Let me know what you think in the comments. Next up, we've got QPR going up against Swansea. Both teams managed to pick up a win last time around. QPR picked up an away win against Preston and earned for that win as well. I actually personally felt, especially second half, they really turned it around and gave Preston a good run for their money. Swansea were involved in a narrow win against Hull. And Hull are just playing really, really well. Playing really, really good football in the moment. And actually are confident. You know, they've got a really good run of form as of now. I don't think they'll get playoffs. I think that's going to be a step too far for Swansea, although they are really trying to make a last-ditch sprint for it. I do think it will be a very positive finish, though. I do think, however, with this game, because of QPR, they've certainly secured championship survival now with that win against Preston. And I think now with Swansea, you know, seemingly a little bit too far away for the playoffs, feels like a mid-table game, you know, not much going on there. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends as a draw. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Both teams playing well at the moment, and I think that will cancel out in this game here. Next up is Sheffield Wednesday against Middlesbrough. So Sheffield Wednesday is another defeat for them, this time against Stoke City, and they are definitely not getting to the playoffs, and they definitely will not be relegated either. So they are one of a confirmed batch who will be in the Championship next season. Although it seems a bit doom and gloom at the moment, and you know, when you're hearing the manager calling players out, not being able to play his style, there just seems to be a negative atmosphere brewing with Sheffield Wednesday in the moment. Where in contrast with Middlesbrough, they have it all to do still to try and get into the playoffs, but they managed to pick up a win, maybe a bit fortunate with the way that they got it, a last-minute winner against Plymouth. But if they win this game, Middlesbrough, against Sheffield Wednesday, and Coventry and Bristol City drop points, then they'll be feeling that they could potentially snatch one of those playoff places, right near the end. They've got Sheffield Wednesday here, who have got a terrible home record. Them and Hull have got the worst home records in the league. Middlesbrough facing a Norwich side who have been poor on the road all season and are on the beach, and we've seen that from their recent performances. I think actually since March, no team has picked up less points than Norwich. And then it ends with that Coventry game, and I mentioned it already, it could all go to that game in terms of who gets into that final playoff place if Bristol City already secured 5th place. So the permutations could be absolutely amazing here. And Middlesbrough need to win this game if they do need to determine that. If they lose this game, then it is pretty much confirmed that Bristol City will definitely get one of the playoff places, and certainly Coventry will give themselves a big boost for the playoffs with that as well. I'm going to go for a Middlesbrough win, a 1-0 away victory. Sheffield Wednesday have just not been playing well enough, unfortunately, in their past couple of games, and I do think Middlesbrough will be fighting for 3 points to try and get into the playoffs there, and it'll make things really, really exciting for that region of the table as well. So I'm going to go for a narrow Middlesbrough win. Next up, we've got Sunderland going up against Blackburn. Very different results for both. Sunderland, of course, lost out against Bristol City, and they were dealt a very heavy blow of going down to 10 men for 83 minutes of that game. And despite even taking the lead, I was thinking fair play to Sunderland for even taking a lead. It was going to be very difficult to sustain, and eventually Bristol City managed to burst through and managed to sustain all their pressure. Blackburn, I mean, what a crazy couple of games they've had. Beating Luton, and then that's followed by a 4-1 victory over Millwall. I did not see this coming. Back-to-back wins now for Blackburn, and first time back-to-back wins for Valerian Ishmael. Certainly, if he can carry on this form now to the end of the season, he might have earned himself enough credentials to lead Blackburn next year, because I do think there were doubts over his future, and I think certainly we're now starting to see some signs of life again from Blackburn's performances. But this is a difficult game, but at the same time, Sunderland have already confirmed their playoff place. They could potentially start maybe thinking about who they might want to try and keep fresh or to rest up in thinking for those playoffs. I think as a prediction, I'm going to go for a draw. Sunderland have not been winning too many games recently. Blackburn have been improving, so I think this makes this a really good equal game. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. It doesn't really do anything for either of these clubs. Blackburn, now firmly into the top half of the table following their 2 great results recently, and whilst they're not mathematically out of the playoffs, I do think it's going to be too much for them to do, likewise with Millwall. So I'm going to go for a draw in this game. Let me know what you think in the comments. Next we've got West Brom going up against Derby. This is a massive game, especially for the relegation picture. I think for the playoffs, I would have looked at this game thinking a potentially big one for playoffs, but I think West Brom's form has just nowhere near been good enough now at this stage of the season, and I do think they are out of the playoff running now. They've got a little bit more to do. They've got 6 points to gain with 9 points left to play for. It's going to be very difficult for West Brom to get in, unfortunately, now at this stage. But Derby, they are in a very perilous position. They lost to Luton Town at home at Pride Park by 1-0. Very bad first half. Second half, quite a fair bit better. They actually forced Luton into some pressure, but still couldn't break them down. And because of that, you've got Luton now joint on points. It's really, really going to make things very, very tight. And Cardiff only 1 point behind them themselves. It would have been 1 point had Cardiff drew against Sheffield United. Very, very tense. And if Luton do better Derby's result, then Derby could find themselves falling into the bottom 3 with only 2 games left to play. And you would not want to fall into that position with very little games left to play. But West Brom, at home they've been their strongest. So I do think West Brom do have a chance in this game. I don't think their motivation is going to be as high following that, for the fact that playoffs, I think, is a bit beyond their reach now. But as a prediction, I can't ignore their really good home form, I think. I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to West Brom. And that'll make things incredibly nervy for Derby County. Let me know what you think in the comments. And this is what's going on with our final game. It's the final game that you've all been waiting for. Burnley and Sheffield United. Promotion could be wrapped up here. So with what I've currently predicted for Leeds, they'll be on 94 points, predicting a 2-1 win over Stoke. It's now or never for Sheffield United. Burnley are in a very commanding position. They do. They have a better goal difference than Sheffield United. They've only lost 2 games all season. So I do think it's going to make things very tough. I don't think they've actually lost at Turf Moor this season. So the odds are against Sheffield United here. They are. And in recent head-to-heads, I remember their game against Leeds recently where they lost by 3-1. They were outclassed attacking-wise in that game. And Sheffield United did get the job done against Cardiff, a comfortable 2-0 win in the end, keeping things a bit interesting. Burnley got the job done also against Watford, a very awkward game for them. Burnley know they are the strong favourites. If Burnley could even draw this game, the gap will still remain 5 points, and Sheffield United can only pick up to 6 in their last 2 games. So it means Burnley could actually still only pick up 1 point at this stage to the end of the season, and they could still get promoted over Sheffield United. That is how damaging the 3 consecutive defeats have been for Sheffield United's chances. This is really tight. I could see this being low scoring. It's going to be very edgy, very tight. And I have not predicted a scoreline like this for a while, but I actually think it's going to be a 0-0 draw. I personally think there won't be many goals. I do sense Burnley will be the favourite, and I definitely think if any side will win, I think it will be Burnley. They have typically won these really, really tight games, but they've also drawn these types of games too, and I think it will end as a draw. I think Sheffield United will certainly be keen not to lose this game, because they know if they lose it, then automatic promotion is game over. But I'm hoping in a way with the incentive to win, it might mean the game opens up a bit, but I do think it's going to be very tough to get past this Burnley side. So I'm going to go for a draw. And what this result will mean, Sheffield United will be on 87 points, and actually that will mean they cannot catch Leeds. They can still technically catch Burnley with this result, but it means Leeds will be promoted. So this could be a really, really big weekend coming up, and a big game week coming up tomorrow. So let me know what you think of my predictions in the comments. Just like that, guys, that is my predictions for week 44. I mean, I am definitely going to keep both eyes on these games. It's going to be absolutely dramatic, and I'm pleased to say that there's a lot of drama going around in the EFL as well. We could potentially see some drama in the Premier League today by the time this video comes out. So keep your eyes fixed on this holiday set of football games. I think they will be incredibly dramatic and unforgettable in a positive way. Right, that will wrap it up for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, please smash the like button. It really does help the growth of this channel. Please do hit the subscribe button too, and please share the channel too. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary for certainly in this video, and as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.